Hello and welcome to our very first podcast episode of Question Everything with your host, Bec Bendle. Today we'll be questioning what is beauty and whether or not femininity is purely a social construct. We'll be looking into Dennis Dutton and Charles Darwin's theories on beauty, as well as the novel The Beauty Myth, written in 1991 by feminist Naomi, and we'll also be talking to a friend of mine about what beauty means to her.
But I've done a whole lot of hard work to retrain how I think, so that I don't look and think that I'm ugly, but I don't necessarily know if I look at myself and think that I'm beautiful.
When we apply prettiness, life is easier.
Believing that they have the right to call themselves beautiful.
I think that to understand beauty, we have to look at Charles Darwin's theory. And Charles Darwin believed in evolution, and he said that beauty was pretty much a thing to continue evolution. So babies are born beautiful, so we look after them and we protect them, and then we are attracted to beautiful, symmetrical, fertile people, so we continue to reproduce and continue the circle of life. So Dennis Dutton is an American philosopher, and he did a TED Talk, which was super interesting. He said this quote here: "We can say that the experience of beauty is one of the ways that evolution has of arousing and sustaining interest and fascination, in order to encourage us towards making the most adapted decisions for survival and reproduction. Beauty is nature's way of acting at a distance." So Dennis Dutton and Charles Darwin didn't believe that beauty was in the eye of the beholder. They believed that beauty was down to a science. It was natural selection. It was how we keep reproducing. It was the way that the world worked to keep going. So here's where I want to discuss Naomi Wolf's book, The Beauty Myth, and why I believe that beauty and femininity are social constructs, and they're not down to a science. They're not down to natural selection for me personally. And that's because we live in 2020 and there is so many advertisements and there's social media and mass media that are telling us what beautiful is and what women should look like and how women should act. I believe gender is a performance, and I believe that we perform our gender to be desired, to get a desired response from people, and we evoke feelings of joy, but we sometimes just perform gender and femininity to survive. Being a woman and performing femininity is a survival tactic. The first time I considered my own femininity as a performance was when I read this quote from social media influencer Florence: "How much of my femininity is who I truly am, and how much of it is a product of patriarchal brainwashing to exist for male consumption." Here is a cut from Florence Given's interview with Outspoken Beauty about her ideas on femininity and beauty.
Literally, so my book's called Women Don't Owe You Pretty, right? And the second chapter into my book after the introduction is called Women Don't Owe You Pretty, but because life is easier when we shave, life is easier when we wear makeup, life is easier when we curl our hair, when we do this, when we apply prettiness, life is easier. Life can be made less stressful when we apply these methods, and more doors can open to us. Mm-hmm. But also when those doors open to us, someone might pat your ass on the way in. Sexual harassment also increases when you apply prettiness. And sexual assault increases when you apply prettiness because men look at you on the street, they follow you home, all of this kind of stuff. Online harassment increases when you apply prettiness. But then when you don't apply prettiness, you're not heard, you're not seen, no one wants to talk to you, less doors open to you. So, but also people respect your opinion more because you're not feminine. So you cannot win either way. And literally my entire book, the kind of conclusion I want the reader to come to is that you cannot fucking win. And so that's actually liberating as hell, because it means the only option to do is to be yourself, right?
Naomi Wolf released a novel in 1991 called The Beauty Myth. Since then, she has released 7 more books all about porn, sexuality, politics, and beauty. The book The Beauty Myth is all about how commercial influencers and mass media have put crazy pressures on women to adhere to unrealistic social standards of physical beauty. Within the book, she explains how advertisements and the patriarchy are gaining off our own insecurities. A quote from Naomi Wolf's novel states that a culture fixated on female thinness is not an obsession about female beauty, but an obsession about female obedience. Dieting is the most potent political sedative in women's history. A quietly mad population is a tactable one. One of my favourite parts of Naomi Wolf's novel is when she says that women are not allowed to do anything out of indulgence. And she states that we can eat enough food to sustain life, enough calories to sustain life. But if we eat out of pleasure and enjoyment, we're greedy and we become shamed for wanting to eat for pleasure. And then with sex, we can have sex for the man and we can have sex to reproduce and to maintain life. But when it becomes sex for pleasure, there's shame and there's name calling, and it's not as acceptable to the world. I'm going to add in a little cut that Naomi Wolf said in an interview this year. It was with Unstyled, a podcast, and she just talks about what she thinks the beauty myth is like in 2020.
What do you think are some of the new beauty myths?
That's a great question. So I have a 22-year-old daughter, and her generation, they definitely struggle with a lot of this stuff. But
do you think it's amplified because of social media and just sort of the constant reflection and projection of image all the time?
Absolutely. I think it's mirrored with social media and also with pornography, which we, haven't...
Which you've also written a lot about.
But having said that, those things cut deeper, but I really see young women today, a lot of them, I would say even the majority, believing that they have the right to call themselves beautiful. They may not always live up to that ideal they set for themselves every day, but I do see women carrying themselves differently. I do see more diversity. I see, people trying to be empowering and validating to their women friends.
So in conclusion, I personally believe that beauty and femininity are all performances that we have been trained and taught to do from a very young age. I personally don't know a friend who would outwardly say that they were beautiful. I don't know a friend who hasn't bought into some kind of diet culture, and I don't have any friends or myself who hasn't struggled with their own weight and the food that they consume. I took a little poll on my Instagram and 300 people participated. I wanted to get statistics from people that were around my age and living in Australia. I wanted to see if advertisements and the things that we were being fed by mass media were actually working. So 47% of women said that they perform femininity to make their lives easier for survival. 74% of people said that they think about their body, their weight, or the food that they consume in a negative way at least once a day. 52% of women said that they would jump at the opportunity of having free plastic surgery. And then 8% of people said that they would give up 3 years of their life to lose 8 kilos right now. And 84% of women said that they had been criticized or told off for doing unladylike things. I'm going to end the podcast today with a little interview I did with a friend of mine. She's a 22-year-old woman, and I think she really proves how social media and advertisements are affecting everyday women like you and I. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast about beauty and performative femininity. I hope you enjoyed it. What does the term beautiful mean to you, personally?
I think initially it is definitely an appearance thing, but then if I thought about it and gave the answer that I wish it would be more about someone's personality and how they treat others and how they kind of live out their life in the world.
If I were to ask you if you think that you are beautiful, what would you say?
It depends what day of the week you get me on. But I think about my daughter and I think I always want to feel beautiful. 1, because I birthed her, and 2, because I always want her to think that she is, and that will go, do you know what I mean? I'll pass that on to her. But then I have probably an equal amount, if not maybe a little bit more moments of going, well, this is what we're stuck with. I've done a whole lot of hard work to retrain how I think so that I don't look and think that I'm ugly. But I don't necessarily know if I look at myself and think that I'm beautiful. But even now, if I'd look at myself and I'd feel sad, I'd be upset about, or I'd feel like I don't fit whatever I've pictured in my head that I need to be a part of. Gosh, I would just be so disgusted in myself, and I'd take laxatives because I'd feel the need to do something instantly. I'd go and make myself vomit, or I'd starve, or I'd fucking skip school and just walk and walk. Sorry that I keep swearing.
No, it's fine.
Walk and walk and walk and yeah, anyway.
So you would literally skip school to walk.
Oh, all the time.
So when you could have been at school learning and educating your mind and bettering yourself for your future, instead you were so obsessed with losing weight and looking a certain way that you skipped school to walk. Do you believe that the media and ads and advertisements and growing up has affected your view on beauty? And I also want to say on that, do you think in 2020 with body positivity and Instagram, do you think it's getting better, or do you think that there's just more opinions?
Yeah, probably that. Probably that. I think it can't not have, even if I grew up in a world where everyone, like where social media wasn't even a thing and everyone was as body positive as they're growing to be now, I'm still being influenced by that. And it's taken a bunch of, I think, feminists to go, hang on, that's not what it is. And now we're all starting to think the same way as that, because it's a good fad to jump onto, but even this is a fad. Even this whole body positivity movement is a fad. Since having a baby, my mindset towards it has grown and changed, and for the better. But I feed into Instagram targeted ads regularly on my insecurities. So I've bought, do you want me to name the tablet? So I've bought these JS health vitamins, and they're supposed to make your hair and nails grow longer. I've spent $100 on 3 different vitamins that I fucking forget to take most of the time. And there's a detox and debloat, and there is a skin and digestion one. And then I've also bought a $72 serum cream that is apparently supposed to magically get rid of my stretch marks, which there's a part of me that hates that I want to do that, because I love my stretch marks. They weren't there when I hadn't done anything this miraculous with my body. And then I carried a damn child, and that's why they're there, and it's awesome. And the only, it's ridiculous really that I want to get rid of them. And yet I've bought the serum and I can't wait for it to come, and I can't wait to try it. like if I think about it objectively, I know that it's dumb, and yet I still am going to feed into that insecurity.
It's not even your fault that you're buying into them. Like, they're actually coercing all of us to believe that we need these products.
That's the whole free will thing.
Free will, yeah. 100%.
Yeah, whole other podcast.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much.